This is the 46 of 46 podcast Summit Sessions, where we'll talk all things Adirondack, backcountry, and beyond. From high peak stories and adventures to trail tips and tricks, we'll dive deep into the heart of these mountains and the people who passionately climb them. Adirondack maps and spruce traps, bushwhacks and backpacks. It's all here on the 46 of 46 Summit Sessions. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Summit Session here on the 46 of 46 podcast. It has been a little while, and I hope you all enjoyed the Northville Placid Trail season here on the 46 of 46 podcast. This week will be a special treat of a Summit Sessions as I bring back a familiar name here on the show, Jonathan Zaharek, where we're going to discuss his very recent unsupported FKT thruhike attempt of the 46 high peaks here in the Adirondacks. And if you're not aware, the fastest known time, often called the FKT for short, it's exactly that, the fastest known time of someone completing a trail or a range or whatever the route may be. And these records can be found online at fastestknowntime.com for everything from things as small as the Lake Placid Ultra Niner to as big as the Appalachian Trail. Jonathan has had his sights set on the unsupported High Peaks thruhike FKT for quite a while now. I've heard a lot about it over the last few months. And the current unsupported record is held by Michael Jaworski and Paul and Dan Fraunhofer, and they broke the record just this past June, completing the 46 high peaks unsupported, meaning no help from anybody, no rides from trailheads, no one bringing you extra food along the way, just a couple of dudes hiking in 6 days, 5 hours, and 40 minutes. Yes, 6 days. However, the supported FKT, supported meaning people can help you, sometimes driving you from range to range or bringing you food, is held by Canadian athlete Ryan Atkins, which he completed all 46 high peaks in a mere 3 days, 5 hours and 52 minutes. And Ryan Atkins set this record in July 2019, breaking Jan Welford's record by 12 hours, which stood for 11 years. In 2008, Jan Welford took the supported FKT from the infamous Cave Dog, an Adirondack hiker many people have heard of, by a mere 1 hour, and an FKT that Cave Dog set in 2002. So, not many people attempt to hike all 46 high peaks in one shot, period, let alone as a thru hike, or let alone going for the FKT. It's a difficult task indeed, and tonight we're going to hear Jonathan Zaharek's recent experience as he attempted this monumental hike. What happened, what worked, what went wrong, how he feels, how he planned, and what's next. So without further ado, Jonathan, thanks for coming on the show only a day after you came back to Lake Placid. Welcome back from the woods.
Yeah, and I'm going to Sunrise Marshy tomorrow.
No, you can do that. Yeah. I won't be there. That sounds terrific. So you got back to Lake Placid at 5 p.m. yesterday. It is 8:30 p.m. right now. So a little over 24 hours later, You are here recording this podcast to talk all about the FKT attempt.
Yeah.
And you failed.
Yeah, I did.
There it is. The cat's out of the bag, people. And I want to also say, so Jonathan and I talked a few times throughout the attempt, and since he's gotten back, and I've waited to talk to him about anything because I wanted the first time that I hear everything that happened to be here on the podcast. So I'm super stoked to actually finally talk to you about the details.
Don't think he's being harsh, guys. He's not.
We're
being honest. But, failure is a strong word. Failure is the back door to success,
It's part of everything. It's part of life, and I think it's important to talk about the goods and the bads here.
In fact, one stat that you don't see on looking at all these FKTs is that I believe every single unsupported attempt in history, except the one solo one, I think all of them were actually unsuccessful the first time. At least 2 or 3 attempts had to be made because the mountains here treat everyone differently. They experience it differently. They say, they have a great plan. They do this. They execute it. And, unexpected things, even if you have so much experience, just so many uncertain things, you know. And so I encountered things that I just never expected to happen, uncertainties that I can very much account for when I do give this a second shot.
There it is.
Which
there
I will
be a second attempt. Now, I mean, like realistically, it would have been more surprising for you to go after this for your very first time.
And if I did do it. Now,
it.
I will say one of the biggest flaws that I think I had mindset going into this, I am very confident in my abilities to succeed in this, but I think the fact of pushing the idea of failure out the window and saying that what I'm setting my mind towards is I have no choice, that is what I have to get, and that's what I plan for, I then therefore remove like there's very, very little room for error and mistake, and expecting the first time to go that perfect according to plans, I guess definitely there's a lapse in judgment. So there's definitely a lot of humility that comes with this, but I'm learning so much about myself and these mountains, and just from the FKT community and people that have reached out to me. So yeah, it's very humbling, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of emotions to process, but I think this conversation will really help me think about this stuff. And like seriously, over the past couple of hours, I have just been thinking about everything that could change next time, and I'm super excited because the main thing that at the end of the day, if I could bring it back to one thing that was the main factor to why I was unsuccessful, it's because the unexpected threw off my equilibrium, which in result changes my emotion, which result changes my physicality. And so when I go out into these mountains normally, I have my mind set on a goal. We're doing 1 day or 2 days, and I know exactly, like I did know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going. I didn't even use my GPS like for the entire 117 miles that I did accomplish. But once things started to not go to plan, eventually my vision started to deteriorate. And that really, really started to play with me. And there's also a lot of other things that did happen that I have not shared really with the public at all. Things that are huge considerations to why it's good that I did stop. I personally think it was a very wise decision on my behalf. And I did talk to a lot of people to help me come to that realization, because, you know, the only thing in the way of me to keep going was my pride. And the thing is, that can be a very negative thing, a huge downfall. And that's also one thing that I'm learning, because I want this. This is, my dream, to be able to hold this title, even for a day, because a lot of people are going to be going for this in the future, Mm-hmm. So I know, the mountains aren't my only competition.
Totally.
And again, it's not like you're not conquering, these mountains, and it's like you're conquering yourself. And from where I started, my whole journey up here from my first high peak to see where I am now, is just mind blowing. And the fact that I've been blessed to have a platform to where I can inspire other people and have a voice up here is huge. And I'm really thankful for that. So
you're absolutely not conquering the high peaks. Nobody is. No one ever will. Those mountains will take care of you real fast if you have that mindset. Yeah, dude, it's good to know. Not let your pride get in the way of, and, in this scenario, pride could be the difference of being very hurt or worse, especially out there. So for those who don't know, if you don't follow Jonathan or you didn't see his route or what he planned, he made it to day 3, which was still, 117 miles?
117 miles.
In 3 days.
Right. So, 2.5.
2.5.
Counts,
so, regardless of not completing the task, but we'll get to that, what you still did hike,
right,
bonkers.
So I did almost 60% of the mileage. I did 19 out of the 46 high peaks, but the first 2 days, it's huge distances getting. The first day is almost... what I was trying to do the first day is almost 50 miles, and it's the Sewards, the Santanonis, and Allen. And just to get 7 high peaks, you got to do almost a quarter of your entire mileage. And then that, not even counting the second day getting to the next mountains, So for context, for anyone that, doesn't know what I was going for, I'm realizing now that this was a little bit more than I thought I was going to that I could do. I really did think, I'm not going to lie, I really did think that my itinerary and what I physically thought I was going to be able to accomplish was going to be, like in my mind, I really did think like I was going to get this. And I definitely think I bit off more than I could chew. I was going for a theoretical time of 3.5 days. And I know that sounds absurd, but like when I really just like show it to you on paper and I really just like speak it out and show times and things like this, it makes sense. So do I theoretically think that is possible? Yes, for someone. Some freak like Ryan Atkins.
Freak of nature, absolutely. Like Ryan Atkins, sure.
But for me, I don't know. Definitely not. It's just I wouldn't like clearly like I mean I was going for that just now and it's just not possible. So definitely like there's still a good chunk of time to be taken off of the current record. I totally believe that. And I think when I go in next time, I'm going to be reworking my route, so I'm a little bit more generous.
Sure.
So I have, because like I said, when I don't see my plan going, like when I don't see my dream going according to plan, I guess exactly, it does discourage you. And so if every single day I was accomplishing my goal, even if that meant I got 4 hours of sleep, if I accomplished the first day right and the second day right, like I hopefully would finish because I see that stuff coming to fruition. That's one of the joys of doing the 46 is seeing the accomplishment, being successful. And then because there's so few times where I have to go back and get something because since I do live here now and I'm able to pick and choose, there's so little amount of times where I'm not being successful in a hike or something like that. So it is very little amount of times that happens to me. And so when it does happen and you're not used to it, It is discouraging. So I'm definitely, and with something this big, like, yeah, I know for any of you that are listening to this that know anything about FKTs, me saying 3.5 days for the unsupported, no, I know that's absolutely nuts and probably it is near impossible. And I will not be going for that time next time. So I'm definitely reconsidering all this.
Cool.
And I'm like, wow, I didn't really understand what these people have previously gone through. And, currently it's like 6 days and 5 hours right now. Like that's insanely impressive. It is.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I mean, I think we've been talking about this since the winter. So I've known about it for a while. And as we've talked, it seems like every few weeks you're like, yeah, so I knocked it down 6 hours. I knocked it down another 6 hours. Okay, I'm down a day now. And I'm just like, dear Lord.
The original time was 6.5 days.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was being gracious. I was
28-mile
days every single day. And the current record was, set by my friend Lucas Ware and his friend Michael. And, I'm like, okay, 7 days and 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's very, very reasonable. And so, then I messaged a couple other people and saw that they wanted to take the time down more than what I was hoping to do. And then I started really crunching my numbers, seeing what I was capable of and seeing through my knowledge of these high peaks and the trails, what I think is theoretically possible. And I think I kind of reached that area in my mind where it's like Albert Einstein discovers that, theory of quantum physics and all this stuff and relativity are theories. But, you don't know how to achieve, these things. They can exist, interdimensional travel. But like, so it's like, yeah, these things are theoretically possible. But, in the mind of a day packer and supported, I mean, you clearly said it. The supported record is 3 days and 5 hours.
Sure.
And even Jan himself said in his original post that he even thinks, at least back then, I think he said, like not now because he's getting older, but he says they even think they can get it under 3 days, So there's definitely room to do it that fast, but not unsupported.
Sure.
You're just absolutely like not even like human if that's so
well the freaks of nature. But yeah, so it seems like what you learned the first time around here is perseverance and when things go wrong. I don't know who it is. I feel like it's Mike Tyson, but you never know if those quotes are correct. But I think there's a quote from Mike Tyson saying that everybody goes into a fight with a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. You had your big plan, you had exactly what you wanted, and then you got punched in the mouth, and then everything just kind of spirals out of control. Yeah. And how you recover from that is ultimately what will determine whether you have what it takes to keep going, get back up and keep going, or be knocked down. But cool.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of juicy things. So let's get into it.
Let's do it, dude. So